As you venture your way through your career, eventually in-ear monitors will come into play. Since I've moved to LA, I've used in-ear monitors for a majority of the gigs and just another skill to learn in the music world. And if you're looking to be a professional gigging musician, this is a must. But luckily for you, in this video, I will break down everything you need to know, tell you why it's important and necessary for specific and certain gigging situations. I'll be breaking down an in-ear monitor system and the Phenyx Pro PTM-10 in particular. I'll show you how to set one up and how to use it. So whenever you get that call for that gig that requires them, or if you have one coming up and you're really not sure how it all works, then look no further. I'll also be talking about a few other things as well. If you have any questions that I don't cover, please let me know down in the comments. And my name is Matt Kelly. If you find this video helpful or entertaining in any way, please consider subscribing to support. Let's now get into the video. There can be a million reasons why an artist or band want to utilize an in-ear monitor system. Now, it really all depends. Everyone's situation is different, but here are a few general reasons. They're playing with backing tracks. Now, this happens when they have a lot of tracks in their song that they released, but they don't have as many performers. For example, there could be this like very small synth melody happening throughout the song, but then there's just no other synths throughout it. It would be just costly and sort of unnecessary to hire a keyboard or synth player just to do that one part. So you can simply just put it through a backing track and then it'll just play through the in-house system at the venue. Now, another reason is that they're playing larger gigs, so they need to be able to hear themselves better and also hear their cues a lot better. And then honestly, one of the most important is to protect your ears and to also give you a better in-ear mix that any stage monitor will give you. I know you've played a few crappy bar gigs where the floor monitor sound was just awful. Using these will just get rid of that issue altogether. Now, granted, you still have to dial in the proper mix and the proper volume for your in-ears, but we'll get into that a little later. And also, even another reason, if there's a lot of complicated parts to a song, whether that be tempo changes, or there's a really long break and you're not sure really when to come in again, then you can sort of dial in the proper cues ahead of time, and you can hear when those tempo changes are about to happen. You can have vocal cues to know when to stop and start in a song, hear when the changes are coming, and honestly, so much more. I'm not gonna get too deep into that. But there really is a lot of things you can do, and it's very beneficial. Now, the best part about in-ear mixes is that you or the person sort of running the mix, you get to tailor what you hear. If you just wanted to just hear the click and just your guitar or whatever instrument, you can do that. You can control the volume of the two. Your guitar mix in your in-ears can be a lot louder. You can add in reverb and all these other effects that the audience will not be hearing. So everyone's mix can be different. The singer's mix can be different, the bass player, the drummer, and then the mix will just be the same for the audience. So I hope that makes sense. It sort of clears up some questions that a lot of people have about in-ear monitors. So now that we know more about in-ear mixes, let's break down what is included and what to look out for when buying a in-ear monitor system. Now, in this case behind me and what you're about to see is the PTM-10-1B from Phenyx Pro. So this is a single stereo monitoring system, so that means it's only for one person, in this case, which is you. There are several different types of these that come with, let's say, one monitor pack or two wireless receiver packs, 3, 4, whatever you name it. Now, they all have their own pros and cons, and the more money you spend on these, the less issues you will have. And that sort of goes with a lot of things. Now, when it comes to the cons of this unit, it's only for one person, so it can take up more room in the rack space if you have a lot of band members and they all have their own systems. Now, issues can sort of arise when you have multiple monitoring systems in one rack. You can run into frequency issues and sort of all that insane stuff. So you really do have to do your research to find what's best for you and the band you're playing with, the artist you're playing with. Now, most of the time, if you're playing with a full band, it'll make the most sense to sort of get a monitoring system that has as many wireless receiver packs as possible. And even that can have its own complications as well. But now we're really just going down the rabbit hole of this sort of stuff. Now, depending on the gig, you're definitely gonna need your own in-ears, at least like the headphone part, like the earbuds. But for the actual like wireless packs and monitoring systems like this one, it varies whether you're gonna be supplying your own or not. Most of the time, especially if you're getting paid, you won't have to supply your own system, but it's honestly just definitely good to have just in case. And if you find one that you really like, you can obviously just ask and see if you can use your own. Let's now check out what comes in a in-ear monitor system pack or bundle, and we're gonna be breaking down the Phenyx Pro PTM-10 in particular. Now, first things first, they give you a really nice and sturdy travel case because obviously you're gonna be taking this on the road with you or taking it to a bunch of different gigs, and it's gonna get bumped around a lot, so it's great that you have something like this. Pop it open. Got a manual to start off with, and we'll go over all these features in a second. Batteries, which is my favorite thing. the system itself, a bunch of other cables. We got antennas, and then our wireless receiver pack. So let's take a look at the monitoring system. Now it's pretty light and compact. I like the size of it. Here in the back, we have 2 XLR inputs. This is where our antenna would go into. We have a nice little screen with some knobs and buttons, and we'll go over this in a second as well. So we have the system itself, and then we have the wireless receiver pack, bunch of buttons and knobs in this that I'll also go over in a second. This is also a piece to set up the rack mount if you want to do that. This is a bunch of other little accessories for the antenna. They actually give you earbuds. I'm sure you'll probably end up having your own, but this is like a really great backup pair to have. So this is pretty much what you're going to get from most monitoring systems. Now some may have more wireless packs, but like I said, this is just a single one. Let's now take a look at the front panel of this system. Now most of these systems will have a similar layout. Some might have extra features. This is more of a budget friendly one, so you might not get as many features if you were to get a much more expensive one, but honestly, most of the time it's pretty much the same thing. All right, so let's take a look. Let's turn this thing on. So starting off simple enough is the audio output jack. This obviously connects to a headphone, earphones, or wedge speaker for direct monitoring. This knob right here, this is our output level control. That will just adjust the level of the output audio signal to the audio output jack. This bigger knob right here, this is our input level control. That will adjust the level of the input audio signal from microphones, mixers, and other devices that you want to use. Now we have a nice LCD display screen. This has all our RF and other information. Now for the buttons, we have an up, a set, and a down button. Now the set button, we can tap this for our mode selection. Now we're in that group channel. We can go up and down with the arrows. Move over to channel, do the same thing. Mode, we can flip through that as well. Now the only modes are mono and stereo, but it's great that you have both of those options. Lock, this will basically just set what you have and what your preferences are. And then exit obviously means exit. Now let's take a really quick look at the transmitter pack. All right, so up here is our power button. We hold that down. We have a nice little display screen as well, just like the monitoring system. Up here we have our volume knob that you would be adjusting. If you're on stage and it's too loud or too quiet, you can control this yourself. And then we have a phones jack. This is where we plug in our earbuds. Now for the buttons, we have a set and add button. Now the set button will take us into some other menus where we can control a bunch of other different functions. It'll show us the battery display, what frequency we're on. It'll make sure that we're synced to the system, and you can just strap this thing right on your belt or your pants or wherever you want to put it. This stuff is really easy to set up, and the one thing that I will say about this is that you'll see this in a second. The screen sort of goes away while it's still on. You just have to hit the power button again or one of the buttons to turn it on. I don't know if this is actually a good or bad thing. You could be on stage and need to change something real quick and it could seem like it's off, and that could maybe cause some issues. That's the only really thing I can think of. But it is made out of hard plastic. Dropping this thing might cause some damage, so definitely be careful. And then the back's honestly simple enough. We have our 2 XLR inputs. Now it's stereo, so that's why we have 2. If it was mono, it would just be 1, but we do have the option of running mono as well. Then we have the option of -12 dB or 0 dB, and then where we plug in our antenna. So that's basically all you really need to know to get started in the in-ear monitoring world. Now, like I said, if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments and I'll try and answer them as best as I can. Understanding this stuff sometimes can be overwhelming and seem very complicated. So I hope this video was helpful and you were able to understand this a lot better. And if you enjoyed this video or did find it helpful, please subscribe to support. Thanks as always for watching. I have other videos you can check out right around there or wherever, and I'll see you in the next video.